I watched in complete disbelief as my manager Marcus Williams clicked the delete button on what he dismissively called my collection of useless backup files. Those weren't just random documents cluttering up our shared server space. Hidden within that seemingly innocuous folder labeled Personal Projects was the entire source code repository for our company's flagship e-commerce platform, the very system that processed over $2 million in transactions every single day. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. What Marcus didn't know, what he couldn't have possibly imagined in his self-assured ignorance, was that in exactly 47 minutes when our primary development server crashed during a routine maintenance update gone wrong, TechFlow Solutions would desperately need those backup files to prevent a complete system meltdown that would cost us everything we'd built over the past 3 years. The fluorescent lights of TechFlow Solutions' cramped downtown office cast their familiar harsh glow across rows of mismatched desks where software developers hunched over multiple monitors, fingers dancing across keyboards in the perpetual race against deadlines that defined our startup culture. It was a Tuesday morning in late September, and the autumn rain streaking down our floor-to-ceiling windows created an oddly peaceful backdrop to what would become the most catastrophic and ultimately vindicating day of my professional career. I had arrived at 7:30 that morning, a full hour before our official start time, carrying my usual large coffee and the quiet satisfaction that came from knowing I had single-handedly prevented 3 potential security breaches the previous week through my systematic code reviews and proactive system monitoring. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 28 years old, I had already established myself as the most reliable and technically proficient senior software engineer on TechFlow Solutions' development team. My journey to this position had been anything but conventional, marked by the kind of determined persistence that comes from growing up in a household where my single mother worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat while pursuing her nursing degree through night school. Those early years watching my mother balance impossible schedules while maintaining unwavering commitment to excellence had instilled in me a work ethic that bordered on obsessive, combined with an attention to detail that would prove both essential for my professional success and frustrating for colleagues who preferred quick solutions over thorough analysis. My educational background reflected this same pattern of exceeding expectations despite limited resources. I had earned my computer science degree from Portland State University while working 25 hours per week at a local tech support company, maintaining a grade point average that earned me recognition on the dean's list for 6 consecutive semesters. The practical experience I gained troubleshooting hardware failures and resolving software conflicts for frustrated customers taught me patience and systematic problem-solving approaches that complemented my theoretical knowledge in ways that purely academic students often lack. More importantly, those years of explaining complex technical concepts to non-technical users developed communication skills that would prove invaluable when working with cross-functional teams and stakeholders who needed to understand development decisions without getting lost in technical jargon. TechFlow Solutions had hired me 18 months earlier as a junior developer, but my rapid advancement to senior engineer status reflected both my technical capabilities and my willingness to tackle the challenging projects that other team members avoided. Our company specialized in developing custom e-commerce platforms for mid-sized retailers who needed sophisticated functionality beyond what standard platforms could provide. The complexity of these projects required deep understanding of database architecture, payment processing security, inventory management systems, and user experience optimization across multiple device types and browsers. While many developers preferred to specialize in specific areas, I had made it my mission to develop comprehensive expertise across all aspects of our platform development, recognizing that holistic understanding would enable me to identify integration issues and optimization opportunities that specialists might miss. The flagship platform that had established TechFlow Solutions' reputation in the competitive e-commerce development market was a sophisticated system I had architected and implemented almost entirely on my own over the course of 8 months. The project had begun when our largest client, Mountain Peak Outdoor Gear approached us with requirements that exceeded the capabilities of any existing e-commerce solution. They needed real-time inventory synchronization across 17 physical store locations, complex shipping calculations based on product dimensions and destination zip codes, integration with their existing customer loyalty program, and advanced analytics capabilities that would enable data-driven decision-making about product placement and promotional strategy. The technical challenges involved in creating this integrated solution were substantial and required innovative approaches to problems that standard e-commerce platforms had never been designed to address. Real-time inventory synchronization across multiple locations required developing a distributed database architecture that could handle thousands of simultaneous transactions while maintaining data consistency and preventing overselling situations that would damage customer relationships. The shipping calculation system needed to interface with multiple carrier APIs while providing customers with accurate cost estimates and delivery timeframes before they completed their purchases. The loyalty program integration required secure handling of sensitive customer data while enabling seamless point accumulation and redemption across both online and in-store purchases. My approach to solving these interconnected challenges emphasized systematic analysis and modular development that would enable future enhancements and modifications without requiring complete system rebuild. I spent 3 weeks conducting detailed requirements analysis with Mountain Peak's management team, documenting not only their immediate needs, but also their long-term growth plans and anticipated feature requirements. This comprehensive planning phase enabled me to design a flexible architecture that could accommodate expansion while maintaining the performance and reliability standards that e-commerce applications require. The database architecture I developed utilized a hybrid approach that combined the consistency guarantees of traditional relational databases with the scalability advantage of distributed systems. Customer and product data remained centralized to ensure consistency, while transaction logs and analytics data were distributed across multiple nodes to enable real-time processing without creating performance bottlenecks. This architecture required custom middleware that I developed to manage data synchronization and conflict resolution, ensuring that inventory levels remained accurate even when multiple customers attempted to purchase the last available item simultaneously across different sales channels. The payment processing implementation required particularly careful attention to security protocols and regulatory compliance requirements that govern financial transactions. I developed a secure tokenization system that protected sensitive customer payment information while enabling features like one-click purchasing and subscription billing that enhanced user experience. The system integrated with multiple payment gateways to provide redundancy and enable customers to choose their preferred payment method. While sophisticated fraud detection algorithms analyzed transaction patterns to identify potentially suspicious activities without creating friction for legitimate customers, the user interface I designed prioritized intuitive navigation and fast loading times across all device types, recognizing that e-commerce success depends heavily on customer experience quality. I implemented progressive loading techniques that displayed critical information immediately while background processes retrieved additional product details and recommendations. The responsive design adapted seamlessly to screen sizes ranging from large desktop monitors to mobile phones, ensuring consistent functionality regardless of how customers chose to access the platform. The analytics dashboard I created provided Mountain Peak's management team with unprecedented visibility into their business operations, combining sales data with customer behavior analysis and inventory trends to enable informed strategic decisions. Real-time reports showed which products were generating the most interest, which marketing campaigns were driving conversions, and which aspects of the user experience might be causing customers to abandon their purchases before completion. Historical trend analysis enabled predictive modeling that helped optimize inventory levels and identify opportunities for promotional pricing strategies. The testing and quality assurance process I implemented for this complex system was equally comprehensive, involving automated unit tests for individual components, integration tests for system interactions, and performance tests that simulated high-traffic scenarios to ensure the platform could handle peak shopping periods without degradation. I developed custom testing frameworks that enabled continuous monitoring of system performance and automatic alerts when any component exceeded acceptable response time thresholds or error rates. The deployment process required careful coordination with Mountain Peak's existing systems and minimal disruption to their ongoing business operation. I designed a phased rollout strategy that gradually migrated functionality from their legacy system while maintaining full backup capabilities throughout the transition period. Training sessions I conducted for their staff ensured smooth adoption of the new administrative interfaces and reporting tools, while comprehensive documentation provided ongoing reference materials for future maintenance and enhancement. The results of this flagship platform implementation exceeded every performance metric we had established during the planning phase. Transaction processing speed improved by 68% compared to their previous system. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. While the enhanced user experience contributed to a 43% increase in customer conversion rates and a 37% improvement in average order value, the real-time inventory synchronization eliminated overselling incidents that had previously damaged customer relationships, while the advanced analytics capabilities enabled marketing strategies that generated 22% more revenue from existing customers through targeted promotions and personalized product recommendations. Most significantly for TechFlow Solutions, the success of Mountain Peak's platform implementation established our reputation as a premier e-commerce development company capable of handling complex custom requirements that other firms couldn't address effectively. The case study we developed from this project became our primary marketing tool for attracting new clients, while referrals from Mountain Peak's satisfied management team generated 6 additional major contracts within 4 months of the platform launch. However, the comprehensive nature of this platform's architecture and the innovative solutions I had developed to address unique requirements meant that the codebase was extraordinarily complex, with interdependencies between components that required deep understanding to modify safely. The documentation I had created was thorough but necessarily technical, reflecting the sophisticated algorithms and data structures that enabled the platform's advanced capability. This complexity would prove both a competitive advantage for our company and a vulnerability when personnel changes created knowledge gaps about critical system components. Marcus Williams had joined TechFlow Solutions as development manager 3 months earlier. Hired specifically because our rapid growth had created management challenges that exceeded the capacity of our founder and CEO, Jennifer Chen, to address while maintaining her focus on business development and client relationships. Marcus came with impressive credentials from larger technology companies, where he had supervised teams of 20 or more developers working on enterprise software projects. His resume highlighted successful project deliveries and cost reduction initiatives that had generated substantial savings for his previous employers. What Marcus's resume didn't reveal and what became apparent only after his arrival was that his management experience had been primarily focused on overseeing teams that worked with established technologies and standard development frameworks, rather than the innovative custom solutions that defined TechFlow Solutions' competitive advantage. His approach to project management emphasized standardization and process adherence over the creative problem-solving and technical innovation that our client projects typically require. While these methodologies worked well for large organizations with predictable requirements and established best practices, they created friction in our startup environment where adapting quickly to unique client needs was essential for maintaining our market position. The first indication of potential conflict between Marcus's management style and our development culture emerged during his initial team meetings, where he expressed concern about what he perceived as inconsistent coding standards and inadequate documentation across our various client projects. His critique wasn't entirely unfounded, as our rapid growth had indeed created some organizational challenges, but his proposed solutions reflected fundamental understanding of the custom development approach that had enabled our success with clients like Mountain Peak Outdoor Gear. Marcus's background in enterprise software development had accustomed him to large teams where individual developers worked on specific components within well-defined parameters, with extensive documentation and standardized procedures governing every aspect of the development process. This environment minimized individual responsibility while maximizing management oversight and control, enabling consistent outputs even when team members had limited understanding of the broader system architecture. However, this approach was poorly suited to custom development projects where innovation and flexibility were essential for addressing unique client requirements that couldn't be solved through standard methodology. My working relationship with Marcus began cordially enough, as he seemed to appreciate my technical expertise and willingness to explain complex system architectures to help him understand our various client platforms. However, tensions developed as he began implementing management changes that prioritize documentation and process compliance over the rapid iteration and creative problem-solving that had characterized our most successful project. His insistence on standardized development procedures created delays that frustrated both our development team and our clients, who had chosen TechFlow Solutions specifically because of our ability to adapt quickly to evolving requirements. The philosophical differences between Marcus's management approach and our established development culture became particularly apparent during code review meetings, where he would critique innovative solutions that deviated from standard practices, even when those solutions demonstrably improved performance or enabled capabilities that standard approaches couldn't achieve. His feedback often focused on adherence to conventional patterns rather than effectiveness or efficiency, reflecting prioritization of management convenience over technical excellence that was difficult to reconcile with our company's reputation for innovative solutions. My personal filing system had evolved over my 18 months at TechFlow Solutions to accommodate the complex documentation requirements of our custom development projects, while enabling quick access to code samples, configuration templates, and technical notes that facilitated rapid problem-solving when clients encountered issues or requested modification. The folder structure I had developed organized materials by project, technology type and functional area, with cross-references that enabled me to locate relevant information quickly regardless of which client or system was involved. Within this organizational framework, I maintained comprehensive backup copies of all source code for projects I had developed, recognizing that version control systems and corporate servers could fail at critical moments, when immediate access to functional code would be essential for resolving emergencies or implementing urgent modifications. These backup files included not only the final production versions of our platforms, but also intermediate development stages that documented the evolution of complex algorithms and the reasoning behind specific architectural decisions that might need to be revisited during future enhancements. The backup repository I maintained also included extensive documentation that went beyond the standard technical specifications required by our company policy. These additional materials included detailed explanations of optimization techniques I had developed, integration challenges I had overcome, and creative solutions I had implemented for problems that weren't adequately addressed in standard programming references or online developer community. This comprehensive documentation served both as insurance against knowledge loss and as a resource for accelerating future development projects that might encounter similar challenges. Marcus's first major initiative as development manager involved what he called organizational cleanup, focusing on eliminating what he perceived as redundant files and inconsistent storage practices that created confusion and inefficiency within our development environment. His approach to this cleanup reflected his enterprise software background, where standardized file naming conventions and centralized documentation repositories enabled teams to maintain consistent practices across large organizations, with hundreds of developers working on interconnected projects. The directive Marcus issued regarding file organization required all developers to consolidate their project materials within designated shared folders, eliminating personal storage areas that he believed created information silos and prevented effective collaboration. His rationale for this change emphasized the need for management visibility into all development activities and the importance of ensuring that critical project information remained accessible even if individual team members left the company or were unavailable during emergencies. While the organizational principles underlying Marcus's cleanup initiative weren't entirely unreasonable, his implementation approach demonstrated limited understanding of how our small development team actually collaborated and shared information. The personal folders he wanted to eliminate didn't represent information hoarding or poor collaboration practices, but rather efficient organization systems that individual developers had created to manage the complex, multifaceted projects that characterized our custom development work. My attempts to explain the importance of maintaining comprehensive backup repositories and the value of the documentation I had accumulated were dismissed as resistance to necessary organizational improvement. Marcus interpreted my concerns about losing access to critical development resources as attachment to inefficient personal practices, rather than legitimate worries about preserving essential technical knowledge that wasn't adequately captured in our standard project documentation. Confrontation that would ultimately lead to the deletion of my backup files occurred during a team meeting where Marcus presented his vision for streamlined development practices that would eliminate what he characterized as wasteful duplication of effort and inconsistent documentation standards. His presentation included screenshots of various developers' personal folders, highlighting the storage space consumed by what he termed redundant backups and unnecessary technical notes that served no clear business purpose. When I attempted to explain that my backup files contained essential source code and documentation that weren't adequately preserved in our standard repositories, Marcus responded with impatience that bordered on condescension. His dismissal of my concerns reflected confidence in corporate backup systems and version control procedures that he assumed would provide adequate protection for all essential material. Despite my attempts to explain that our custom development approach created dependencies and configurations that standard backup procedures might not capture completely, the decision to delete my personal project folder was announced as part of a broader server cleanup initiative that would free storage space while eliminating unnecessary clutter that complicated file management for the entire development team. Marcus framed this action as necessary housekeeping that would benefit everyone by creating more organized and efficient development environment, while dismissing objections as resistance to beneficial changes that reflected outdated thinking about file management and collaboration practices. As I watched Marcus navigate to my personal folder and highlight the hundreds of files I had carefully organized and maintained over 18 months of intensive development work, I experienced a moment of clarity about the profound disconnect between his understanding of our technical requirements and the reality of custom software development challenges. His casual dismissal of materials that represented thousands of hours of problem-solving and innovation revealed not just ignorance about the technical complexities of our work, but fundamental misunderstanding of the expertise and preparation that enabled our company to deliver solutions that our competitors couldn't match. The mouse cursor hovered over the delete button for what seemed like an eternity, while I made one final attempt to explain the irreplaceable value of the materials he was about to destroy. My explanation of the sophisticated algorithms, innovative integration, and custom solutions contained within those files fell on deaf ears, as Marcus had already decided that eliminating personal storage areas was necessary for implementing the standardized practices he believed would improve our development efficiency and management oversight. When the delete confirmation dialog appeared on the screen asking whether he was certain about permanently removing 30 gigabytes of files from the server, Marcus clicked yes without hesitation, apparently confident that any truly important materials would be preserved in our official project repositories and version control system. The progress bar that appeared showed the systematic destruction of 18 months of meticulous work, innovative solutions, and comprehensive documentation that had enabled me to become the most productive and reliable developer on our team. As the deletion process completed and my personal folder vanished from the server directory, Marcus turned to address the development team, with satisfaction about the successful completion of our first major organizational improvement initiative. His brief speech about the benefits of standardized file management and the importance of eliminating redundant materials felt surreal given the magnitude of technical knowledge that had just been irretrievably lost. But his confidence in the correctness of his decision remained unshaken, even when several team members expressed concern about the aggressive nature of the cleanup process. What Marcus Williams didn't know, what he couldn't have anticipated, despite his management experience and enterprise software background, was that the files he had just deleted included the complete source code repository for Mountain Peak Outdoor Gear's e-commerce platform, stored in my personal folder as a comprehensive backup that included not only the production code, but also all the intermediate development versions, custom configuration files, and detailed documentation that would be essential for resolving any technical issues that might arise with their complex integrated system. The irony of the situation would become apparent in less than an hour, when our primary development server experienced a catastrophic failure during what should have been a routine maintenance update, corrupting the official project repository and leaving us without access to the functional code needed to restore Mountain Peak's platform. Before their critical holiday shopping season preparations would be irreparably damaged by extended downtime. The 27 minutes that followed the deletion of my backup files passed with deceptive normalcy, filled with routine development tasks and casual conversations that provided no indication of the technological disaster that was about to unfold. I found myself mechanically responding to emails and reviewing code submissions, while my mind struggled to process the magnitude of what Marcus had just destroyed. The sophisticated algorithms I had spent months developing, the innovative solutions to complex integration challenges, the comprehensive documentation that captured not just what I had built, but why specific architectural decisions had been made. All of it was gone with a few mouse clicks from someone who fundamentally misunderstood the nature of custom software development. My background in computer science had begun during high school when I discovered programming through an elective course that most students avoided because of its reputation for difficulty. While my classmates struggled with basic concepts like variables and loops, I found myself fascinated by the logical precision required to transform abstract ideas into functional code that could solve real-world problems. The teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, recognized my aptitude and encouraged me to participate in regional programming competitions, where I consistently placed among the top performers, despite coming from a school that lacked the advanced computer labs and resources that larger districts provided their students. The summer before my senior year, I secured an internship at a small web development company, where I encountered my first taste of professional software development challenges. The owner, David Kim, ran a two-person operation that created websites for local businesses, and he hired me primarily to handle basic HTML coding and image optimization tasks. However, my eagerness to learn and willingness to tackle complex problems soon led to expanded responsibilities that included database design and server-side programming, using technologies I had never encountered in my high school coursework. Working with David taught me that real-world software development required skills that extended far beyond writing code. I learned to communicate with clients who had vague ideas about what they wanted, but couldn't articulate technical requirements clearly. I discovered the importance of systematic testing and quality assurance processes that could prevent embarrassing failures after websites went live. Most importantly, I developed project management skills that enabled me to balance multiple competing deadlines while maintaining the attention to detail that professional work demanded. The client projects I worked on during that internship were relatively simple compared to what I would later encounter at TechFlow Solutions, but they provided essential experience in understanding how technology decisions impacted business outcomes. A restaurant owner needed online ordering capabilities that integrated with his existing point-of-sale system. A retail store wanted e-commerce functionality that could handle inventory management across multiple product categories. A consulting firm required a content management system that would enable multiple staff members to update their website without technical expertise. Each of these projects required custom solutions, because standard templates and off-the-shelf software couldn't address the specific requirements and existing system constraints that characterized real business environments. I learned to analyze client needs systematically, identifying both explicit requirements that they clearly understood and implicit needs that would become apparent only as projects progress. This analytical approach would prove invaluable throughout my career as I encountered increasingly complex challenges that required innovative solutions. My experience at Portland State University expanded my theoretical understanding while providing opportunities to work on larger, more complex projects that required collaboration with team members who brought different skills and perspectives to shared challenges. The computer science curriculum emphasized fundamental concepts like data structures, algorithms, and software engineering principles that provided the foundation for understanding how to design systems that could scale effectively and maintain reliability under demanding conditions. The senior capstone project I completed during my final year involved developing a mobile application for the university's transportation department that would enable students to track bus routes in real time and receive notifications about schedule changes or service disruption. The project required integrating GPS data from multiple bus vehicles with a central database that could handle thousands of simultaneous user requests while providing accurate location information and estimated arrival time. Working with my project team taught me valuable lessons about collaboration and communication in technical environments. My teammates included students with backgrounds in user interface design, database administration, and mobile application development, each bringing specialized expertise that contributed to our overall success. Learning to coordinate different development tracks while maintaining consistent coding standards and shared architectural vision required diplomatic skills and technical leadership that would prove essential in professional environments. The mobile application we delivered exceeded the transportation department's expectations and was adopted university-wide within 6 months of our project completion. The real-time tracking functionality improved student satisfaction with campus transportation services, while enabling more efficient route planning and resource allocation by transportation staff. The success of this project led to my recognition as outstanding senior computer science student and provided valuable experience that would influence my approach to complex system development throughout my career. The technical challenges involved in creating real-time location tracking required innovative approaches to data synchronization and mobile device optimization that weren't adequately addressed in standard coursework or textbook examples. I developed custom algorithms for predicting bus arrival times based on current location, historical traffic patterns, and real-time congestion data obtained from third-party services. The mobile application needed to function reliably despite varying network connectivity and device capabilities, while providing consistent user experience across different smartphones. The database architecture I designed for this project utilized distributed caching strategies that minimized server load, while ensuring that location updates appeared instantaneously on user devices. The system needed to handle peak usage periods when thousands of students simultaneously checked bus schedules between classes, while maintaining accurate information even when individual bus vehicles experienced GPS connectivity issues or other technical problems. My approach to user interface design prioritized simplicity and clarity, recognizing that students would typically use the application while walking between classes or waiting at bus stops where their attention was divided between the mobile screen and their physical environment. The navigation structure I created enabled users to access essential information with minimal interaction while providing optional advanced features for users who wanted detailed route planning or schedule customization capability. The testing and quality assurance process I developed for this project included extensive field testing with actual bus routes and real user scenarios that revealed usability issues and performance limitations that wouldn't have been apparent through laboratory testing alone. I coordinated with transportation department staff to conduct trials during peak usage periods, identifying bottlenecks and optimization opportunities that enabled the final system to handle university-wide deployment successfully. The recognition I received for this capstone project led to graduate school opportunities that I ultimately declined in favor of entering the professional workforce, where I could apply my skills to real business challenges while gaining practical experience that would complement my theoretical foundation. The decision to begin my career immediately rather than pursuing advanced academic credentials reflected my preference for learning through hands-on problem solving and my eagerness to start contributing to meaningful projects that would impact real users and organizations. My first professional position after graduation was with a mid-sized software consulting firm that specialized in developing custom applications for healthcare organizations. The company TechFlow Solutions had built its reputation by creating specialized systems that addressed unique requirements in medical practice management, patient data security, and regulatory compliance that standard healthcare software couldn't accommodate effectively. The healthcare industry presented particularly complex technical challenges because of stringent regulatory requirements, sensitive data protection needs, and integration demands that required seamless communication between disparate systems developed by different vendors over multiple decades. HIPAA compliance requirements meant that every aspect of system design needed to incorporate security measures that protected patient information while enabling authorized access for medical professionals who needed comprehensive patient data to provide effective care. My initial assignment involved working on a patient portal system for a large cardiology practice that needed to integrate with their existing electronic health record system, appointment scheduling software, and billing management platform. The portal needed to enable patients to access their medical records, schedule appointments, communicate with healthcare providers, and manage billing information through a secure web interface that could be accessed from various devices and browsers. The integration challenges were substantial because the existing systems had been developed by different companies using incompatible data formats and communication protocols. The electronic health record system used proprietary database structures that required custom middleware to extract patient information safely. The appointment scheduling software provided limited API access that constrained how appointment data could be retrieved and modified. The billing system used legacy file formats that required complex parsing and validation to ensure accurate financial information display. My approach to solving these integration challenges involved developing a comprehensive data abstraction layer that could communicate with all existing systems, while providing a unified interface for the patient portal application. This architecture enabled the portal to function independently of the underlying system complexities, while ensuring that data remained synchronized and accurate across all platforms. The security implementation required sophisticated authentication and authorization mechanisms that could verify patient identity reliably while providing convenient access that wouldn't discourage portal usage. I developed a multi-factor authentication system that balanced security requirements with user convenience, incorporating both traditional password protection and mobile device verification that could adapt to different user preferences and technical capabilities. The user interface design process involved extensive consultation with both medical staff and patients to understand how different user groups would interact with the portal and what information they needed to access most frequently. Medical professionals required quick access to comprehensive patient data during appointments, while patients needed intuitive navigation that could guide them to relevant information without overwhelming them with unnecessary clinical detail. The testing and deployment process for healthcare applications required particularly rigorous validation procedures because system failures could potentially impact patient care and expose the practice to regulatory violation. I developed comprehensive testing protocols that included security penetration testing, performance evaluation under peak usage conditions, and integration verification that ensured data consistency across all connected systems. The success of this patient portal project led to expanded responsibilities and recognition within TechFlow Solutions, where I became the lead developer for increasingly complex healthcare integration challenges. Over 2 years with the company, I worked on projects that included hospital-wide electronic health record implementations, multi-practice patient data sharing systems, and specialized clinical research platforms that required FDA compliance for medical device data collection. Each of these projects required deep understanding of healthcare workflows, regulatory requirements, and the unique challenges that medical organizations face when adopting new technology. I learned to balance innovation with the conservative approach that healthcare providers necessarily take when implementing systems that could impact patient safety. This experience taught me patience and systematic methodology that would prove valuable when working with clients in other industries who had their own regulatory constraints and risk management requirements. The decision to leave MedTech Solutions and join TechFlow Solutions reflected my interest in exploring different industries and technical challenges, while working in a smaller, more agile environment where I could have greater influence on architectural decisions and strategic direction. The healthcare consulting work had been rewarding, but often involved implementing solutions within constraints imposed by existing vendor relationships and regulatory requirements that limited innovation and creative problem-solving opportunity. TechFlow Solutions represented an opportunity to work on cutting-edge e-commerce platforms where technical innovation could directly impact business success and user experience. The company's reputation for developing custom solutions that exceeded what standard platforms could provide attracted clients who valued technical excellence and were willing to invest in sophisticated systems that would provide competitive advantage. My interview process with TechFlow Solutions involved technical assessments that evaluated both my coding capabilities and my understanding of system architecture principles that would be essential for custom e-commerce development. Jennifer Chen, the company's founder and CEO, personally conducted the final interview where we discussed my experience with complex integrations and my approach to balancing technical innovation with practical business requirements. Jennifer's background included both technical development experience and business management expertise that enabled her to evaluate candidates from multiple perspectives. She understood that successful custom development required developers who could communicate effectively with clients while possessing the technical skills necessary to implement sophisticated solutions that addressed unique business requirements. Her questions focused on my problem-solving methodology and my ability to work independently while maintaining accountability for project outcomes. The culture at TechFlow Solutions emphasized individual responsibility and creative problem-solving that contrasted sharply with the hierarchical structure and standardized procedures that characterized larger consulting firms. Developers were expected to take ownership of entire projects from initial requirements analysis through final deployment and ongoing maintenance. This approach required comprehensive skills that extended beyond programming to include project management, client communication, and strategic planning capability. My first project assignment involved developing an inventory management system for a specialty retailer that sold handcrafted furniture and home accessories from multiple artisan suppliers. The client, Heritage Home Collections, needed a system that could track one-of-a-kind items while managing complex supplier relationships and providing detailed product information that would enable online customers to make informed purchasing decisions about items they couldn't physically examine before buying. The technical challenges involved in creating this inventory system required innovative approaches to product data management that went far beyond standard e-commerce requirements. Each furniture piece was unique, with variations in wood grain, finish quality, and dimensional specifications that needed to be documented accurately. Supplier information included not only contact details and pricing but also production schedules, shipping capabilities, and quality standards that influenced which products should be featured prominently on the website. The database design I developed accommodated this complexity through flexible product attribute systems that could capture unlimited detail about individual items while maintaining search and filtering capabilities that enabled customers to find products matching their specific requirements. The system needed to handle both standardized attributes like dimensions and materials as well as descriptive text and high-resolution photographs that conveyed the unique characteristics of handcrafted items. The integration with supplier systems required custom interfaces because most artisan suppliers lacked sophisticated technology infrastructure and relied on manual processes for inventory management and order fulfillment. I developed user-friendly tools that enabled suppliers to update product information and availability status through simple web forms while automatically synchronizing this information with the main e-commerce platform. The customer interface emphasized visual presentation and detailed product information that would build confidence in purchasing high-value items sight unseen. I implemented advanced image viewing capabilities that enabled customers to examine products from multiple angles and zoom in on specific details that revealed craftsmanship, quality, and material characteristics. The product description system supported rich text formatting and multimedia content that suppliers could use to tell the stories behind their creations and explain the techniques that made each piece special. The success of the Heritage Home Collections project established my reputation within TechFlow Solutions as a developer who could handle complex requirements and deliver sophisticated solutions that exceeded client expectations. The system I created generated significant revenue increases for the client while streamlining their operational processes and enabling expansion into new market segments that their previous manual systems couldn't support effectively. This project's success led to the opportunity to work on Mountain Peak Outdoor Gear's comprehensive e-commerce platform, the flagship project that would define my career at TechFlow Solutions and demonstrate my capabilities for handling the most challenging technical requirements that our clients could present. The complexity and scope of the Mountain Peak project required every skill I had developed through my academic background, healthcare consulting experience, and previous e-commerce work, while pushing me to develop new expertise in areas I had never encountered before. The Mountain Peak project began with what seemed like straightforward requirements: create an e-commerce platform that could handle their existing product catalog and provide online ordering capabilities for customers who preferred shopping from home. However, as I conducted detailed requirements analysis with their management team, the true scope and complexity of their needs became apparent, revealing integration challenges and performance requirements that would require innovative solutions and sophisticated technical architecture. The company operated 17 physical store locations across the Pacific Northwest, each maintaining independent inventory that needed to be synchronized in real time to prevent overselling while enabling customers to reserve items for in-store pickup or transfer between locations. Their existing inventory management system was a legacy database that had been developed in-house over 15 years, with custom modifications and data structures that weren't compatible with standard e-commerce platforms. The product catalog complexity exceeded typical retail requirements because outdoor gear specifications required detailed technical information that influenced customer purchasing decisions. A hiking backpack listing needed to include capacity measurements, weight specifications, frame materials, suspension system details, and compatibility information for various accessories and add-on components. Camping equipment required weather resistance ratings, temperature specifications, and setup instructions that could be accessed during product research and referenced later during actual use. The customer base included both casual outdoor enthusiasts who needed basic product information and guidance, and experienced professionals who required detailed technical specifications and comparison capabilities that would enable informed decisions about specialized equipment. The platform needed to serve both user groups effectively while providing educational content that could help novice customers develop expertise and confidence for more advanced outdoor activities. The shipping and logistics requirements were particularly complex because outdoor gear varied dramatically in size, weight, and shipping restrictions. Some items like sleeping bags and clothing could be shipped using standard methods, while others like kayaks and climbing gear required specialized handling and freight services. The system needed to calculate accurate shipping costs and delivery timeframes, while providing customers with multiple shipping options that balanced cost and convenience. The loyalty program integration required sophisticated customer data management that could track purchases across online and in-store channels, while providing personalized recommendations based on individual customer interests and purchase history. The program needed to recognize different types of outdoor activities and suggest complementary products that would enhance customer experiences while encouraging continued engagement with the brand. The seasonal nature of the outdoor gear business created additional challenges because product demand varied dramatically based on weather patterns, holiday schedules, and regional activity preferences. The platform needed to handle traffic spikes during peak seasons, while providing inventory management tools that could optimize product availability and pricing strategies based on predictive analytics and historical sales patterns. My approach to addressing these complex requirements involved systematic analysis of each functional area combined with comprehensive technical planning that would enable seamless integration between components, while maintaining the flexibility needed for future enhancements and modification. The architecture I designed emphasized modularity and scalability that could accommodate Mountain Peak's growth plans, while providing the performance and reliability that their customers expect. The development process required close collaboration with Mountain Peak staff across multiple departments, from inventory management and customer service to marketing and executive leadership. Each stakeholder group brought different perspectives and requirements that needed to be balanced within a cohesive system design that would serve everyone's needs effectively while maintaining the technical elegance that would enable ongoing maintenance and enhancement. The 8 months I spent developing the Mountain Peak platform represented the most intensive and rewarding period of my professional career, requiring innovation and problem-solving that pushed the boundaries of what standard e-commerce development typically encompassed. The solutions I created established new approaches to complex retail challenges, while demonstrating technical capabilities that would define my reputation within the industry, and set the stage for the career-defining events that would follow Marcus Williams's misguided cleanup initiative. The alarm notification that flashed across my monitor at 10:47 a.m. was the kind of system alert that every software developer dreads seeing: critical server failure, database corruption detected. Platform offline, multiple clients affected. What should have been a routine Tuesday morning maintenance window had somehow triggered a cascading system failure that brought down not only Mountain Peak Outdoor Gear's e-commerce platform, but also 3 other client systems that shared our primary development infrastructure. The irony of watching these emergency alerts appear on my screen barely 45 minutes after Marcus had deleted my comprehensive backup files was not lost on me, though I couldn't have anticipated the full magnitude of the disaster that was about to unfold. Jennifer Chen burst through the office doors with an urgency I had never seen from our typically composed CEO. Her phone was pressed against her ear, and I could hear the frustrated voice of Mountain Peak's CEO echoing through the speaker as she hurried toward our development area. The conversation fragments I caught painted a picture of complete operational paralysis at their 17 store locations, where point-of-sale systems that depended on real-time inventory synchronization had become unable to process transactions or access product information. Their customer service representatives were fielding hundreds of calls from confused customers whose online orders had disappeared from the system, while store managers frantically tried to maintain operations using outdated paper-based backup procedures that hadn't been used in over 3 years. The timing of this system failure could not have been worse for Mountain Peak Outdoor Gear. They were in the final preparation phase for their biggest sales event of the year, a 3-day outdoor gear festival that coincided with the start of the peak hiking and camping season. The promotional campaigns I had helped design were already driving increased traffic to their website, where customers were attempting to research products, compare specifications, and place advance orders for items they planned to purchase during the festival weekend. The platform failure meant that not only were current transactions being lost, but the comprehensive product database and inventory management system that would be essential for managing the festival rush was completely inaccessible. Marcus appeared at my desk with a confusion that quickly transformed into panic as he began to comprehend the scope of the technical crisis facing our company. His enterprise software background had prepared him for managed system failures, where corporate IT departments maintained multiple redundancy layers and disaster recovery procedures that could restore operations within predetermined timeframes. The reality of startup infrastructure, where comprehensive backup systems were often sacrificed for development speed and cost efficiency, was clearly outside his experience and comfort zone. His first instinct was to contact our hosting provider and demand immediate restoration from their backup systems, apparently assuming that external vendors would maintain the same comprehensive disaster recovery capabilities that large corporations typically implemented. The phone conversation overheard revealed his growing frustration as he learned that our hosting agreement included only basic daily backups that wouldn't preserve the real-time data integrity and complex configuration settings that custom applications like Mountain Peak's platform required for proper functionality. The technical explanation I provided about the sophisticated architecture and interdependent components that characterized our custom e-commerce platforms was met with skepticism and irritation rather than understanding. Marcus seemed convinced that proper system administration would have prevented any scenario where critical business applications could become completely inaccessible due to server hardware failure. His questions about our backup procedures and disaster recovery planning revealed fundamental misunderstanding of the resource constraints and technical trade-offs that small development companies necessarily made when building custom solutions for clients with limited budget. The database corruption that had triggered our current crisis was particularly devastating because it had affected not only the primary data storage, but also the transaction logs and replication systems that would normally enable recovery from recent backup. The maintenance procedure that should have been routine had somehow triggered a cascade of failures that compromised multiple storage systems simultaneously, creating the worst-case scenario that database administrators theoretically prepare for, but rarely encounter in practice. Jennifer's attempts to contact our database administrator revealed another dimension of our crisis. Tom Bradley, who maintained our server infrastructure as a part-time contractor, was currently on a backpacking trip in Olympic National Park where cellular coverage was non-existent, and his return wasn't scheduled for another 4 days. The documentation he had provided for emergency procedures was comprehensive in theory, but assumed the availability of someone with his specialized expertise to execute complex recovery processes that involved multiple interconnected systems and potential hardware replacement requirements. The backup systems that should have provided our safety net were revealing their limitations as Marcus and Jennifer worked through our disaster recovery checklist. The automated daily backups maintained by our hosting provider were designed for complete server restoration scenarios, not the selective recovery of individual applications from corrupted databases. The backup files were complete disk images that would require several hours to download and restore, during which time all of our client systems would remain offline and inaccessible. More problematically, the restored systems would only include data from the previous night's backup, meaning that any transactions, inventory updates, or configuration changes made during the current day would be permanently lost. For Mountain Peak outdoor gear, this would mean losing dozens of customer orders that had been placed during their morning rush period, along with inventory adjustments that store managers had made to reflect weekend sales and new merchandise arrival. The technical complexity of our custom platform architecture meant that simple database restoration wouldn't be sufficient to resume normal operation. The system included numerous configuration files, custom middleware components, and integration settings that were stored separately from the main database and would need to be reconfigured manually to ensure proper functionality. Without comprehensive documentation and the specific expertise that had been involved in the original development process, this reconfiguration could take days or weeks to complete properly. As the full scope of our crisis became apparent, Marcus began asking pointed questions about why more comprehensive backup procedures hadn't been implemented, and why critical system components weren't documented well enough to enable rapid recovery. His critique wasn't entirely unfair, as our startup environment had indeed prioritized development speed and client feature requests over the kind of disaster preparedness that enterprise environments typically maintain. However, his questions revealed continued misunderstanding of the resource constraints and business realities that had shaped our technical decisions. The conversation that followed exposed fundamental philosophical differences about risk management and development priorities that had been developing since Marcus joined our team. His enterprise background emphasized standardized procedures and comprehensive documentation that could enable any qualified technician to maintain and recover complex systems without relying on specialized knowledge from original developers. This approach prioritized management control and operational predictability over the flexibility and innovation that had enabled our success with challenging custom development projects. My response to his criticism focused on the practical realities of custom software development for small and medium-sized businesses who typically lacked the resources for enterprise-level infrastructure redundancy and disaster recovery capabilities. The comprehensive backup systems and detailed documentation that Marcus advocated would have required substantial ongoing investment in infrastructure and administrative overhead that most of our clients couldn't afford, while still maintaining the development budgets necessary for innovative feature development and competitive differentiation. The discussion about backup strategies and documentation standards might have continued indefinitely, if not for the increasingly urgent calls Jennifer was receiving from affected clients who needed immediate answers about when their systems would be restored and what data might have permanently lost. Mountain Peak's management was particularly concerned about the potential impact on their upcoming sales festival, while other clients were demanding detailed explanations of how such failures could be prevented in the future. Jennifer's stress was becoming increasingly apparent as she attempted to maintain professional composure while dealing with crisis management challenges that extended far beyond technical system restoration. The potential financial impact of extended downtime included not only lost sales revenue for our clients, but also potential contract penalties and reputation damage that could affect our company's future business prospects. The success that TechFlow Solutions had achieved through delivering reliable custom solutions was being threatened by a single catastrophic failure that exposed vulnerabilities in our infrastructure and operational procedure. The moment when I mentioned that my deleted backup files had contained complete source code repositories for all affected client platforms was met with initial confusion rather than immediate understanding. Marcus's reaction suggested that he had assumed our version control systems and standard backup procedures would preserve all essential development materials, making individual developer backups redundant and unnecessary. The concept that critical system components might exist only in personal file collections was apparently foreign to his enterprise software experience, where centralized repositories and standardized documentation were mandated by corporate policy. My explanation of why I had maintained comprehensive personal backups was initially dismissed as poor development practices that should have been prevented by proper project management and version control procedure. Marcus seemed convinced that any truly essential materials would have been captured by our standard backup systems, while anything that existed only in personal files must have been non-critical development artifacts that wouldn't be necessary for system restoration and ongoing operation. The technical details I provided about the sophisticated algorithms, custom integration and optimization techniques that existed only in my backup repository were met with skepticism that reflected Marcus's limited understanding of the innovative solutions that characterized our most successful client project. His enterprise background had accustomed him to development environments where standardized frameworks and established best practices eliminated the need for custom solutions and innovative approaches that might create dependencies on individual developer expertise. Jennifer's reaction to learning about the deleted backup files was immediate and visceral, as she quickly understood the implications of losing access to comprehensive source code and documentation that could enable rapid system restoration. Her technical background enabled her to appreciate the value of the materials that Marcus had dismissed as unnecessary clutter, while her business responsibilities made her acutely aware of the potential consequences of extended client system downtime. The conversation that followed revealed the full extent of what had been lost when Marcus deleted my personal project folder. Beyond the basic source code files, my backup repository had contained detailed implementation notes that explained the reasoning behind specific architectural decision, performance optimization techniques that weren't documented elsewhere, and integration solutions that had been developed through trial and error over months of intensive development work. The custom algorithms I had developed for Mountain Peak's real-time inventory synchronization were particularly sophisticated and had required innovative approaches to distributed database management that weren't adequately covered in standard programming references or online developer community. The solutions I had created for handling concurrent transactions across multiple store locations while maintaining data consistency had been refined through extensive testing and optimization that would be extremely difficult to recreate without access to the original implementation details, development history. The integration components that enabled seamless communication between Mountain Peak's legacy inventory system and their new e-commerce platform represented months of reverse engineering work and custom middleware development that had required deep understanding of both systems' internal architecture. The configuration files and mapping specifications that defined how data flowed between systems were stored exclusively in my backup repository, as they contained proprietary information that couldn't be included in standard project documentation without violating confidentiality agreements. The performance optimization techniques I had implemented throughout the platform were based on careful analysis of usage patterns and bottleneck identification that had been conducted over several months of monitoring and refinement. The caching strategies, database indexing approaches, and optimizations that enabled the platform to handle peak traffic loads efficiently were documented in detail within my personal files that hadn't been transferred to our standard project documentation because of the ongoing nature of performance tuning and the need for continued monitoring adjustment. The user interface customizations that provided Mountain Peak's competitive advantages were implemented through sophisticated CSS frameworks and JavaScript libraries that I had developed specifically for their brand requirements and user experience objective. The responsive design techniques that ensured consistent functionality across desktop computers, tablets, and mobile devices required detailed understanding of browser compatibility issues and device-specific optimization approaches that weren't adequately captured in our standard development documentation. Marcus's response to learning about the comprehensive nature of the lost materials oscillated between defensive justification of his cleanup decision and growing recognition of the magnitude of the crisis his actions had created. His attempts to minimize the importance of individual backups reflected his continued belief that proper project management would have prevented any scenario where critical materials existed only in personal file collections, rather than centralized repositories accessible to the entire development team. The timeline pressure we faced for restoring client systems made philosophical discussions about development practices and backup strategies a luxury we couldn't afford. Mountain Peak's management had made it clear that they needed their platform restored within hours, rather than days, if they hoped to minimize the impact on their critical sales festival preparation. Other affected clients were expressing similar urgency about restoring operations before extended downtime created permanent damage to their business relationships and revenue stream. Jennifer's decision-making process involved rapidly evaluating our available options for system restoration while considering the potential consequences of different approaches on our client relationships and company reputation. The standard backup restoration process would require substantial time and would result in permanent data loss that could damage client trust and create potential liability issues. Attempting to recreate the sophisticated custom solutions without access to original implementation details would require weeks or months of development work that our clients couldn't accept. The possibility of recovering deleted files from our server storage systems was explored with desperate urgency as we contacted our hosting provider to inquire about data recovery services and undelete capabilities that might restore access to my backup repository. The technical support representatives we spoke with explained that their storage systems didn't maintain the kind of detailed versioning that would enable recovery of specific deleted files, particularly when the deletion had been performed deliberately by an authorized user rather than resulting from accidental data corruption. The forensic data recovery options available through specialized services were prohibitively expensive and time-consuming, requiring physical access to storage hardware and weeks of analysis that wouldn't meet our urgent timeline requirements. Even if successful, such recovery efforts typically retrieved only partial file contents without the organizational structure and metadata that would be necessary for understanding and implementing complex software components effectively. As our options for recovering the deleted backup materials became increasingly limited, attention turned to alternative approaches for recreating the lost functionality within the timeframe that our crisis demanded. The possibility of reverse engineering solutions from the corrupted database and partial system backups was explored, though this approach would require expertise and time commitments that exceeded our available resources and couldn't guarantee successful recreation of the sophisticated features that distinguished our client platforms from standard e-commerce offering. The emotional impact of watching our company's reputation and client relationships disintegrate due to Marcus's misguided cleanup initiative was compounded by the frustration of knowing that complete solutions existed just hours earlier in files that he had dismissed as worthless clutter. The irony of the situation was particularly bitter given that the organizational efficiency he had hoped to achieve through standardized file management was now preventing the rapid problem resolution that our crisis demanded. The phone calls Jennifer continued receiving from increasingly frustrated clients created a constant reminder of the business consequences that extended far beyond technical system restoration. The financial losses that Mountain Peak and other clients were experiencing during extended downtime included not only immediate lost sales, but also potential long-term damage to customer relationships and market positioning that could affect their businesses for months or years after our systems were restored. The pressure to find immediate solutions to our crisis led to increasingly desperate brainstorming about alternative approaches and resources that might enable rapid system restoration. The possibility of contacting former employees or contractors who might have retained copies of development materials was explored, though most had signed confidentiality agreements that prevented them from maintaining client-specific materials after their employment ended. The vendor relationships we had established with various technology providers were examined for potential assistance, though most had provided only specific components or services rather than comprehensive platform development that would enable them to recreate complete systems. The integration partners who had worked with us on various client projects possessed detailed knowledge of their specific components, but lacked the holistic understanding necessary for complete system restoration. As the afternoon progressed and our crisis entered its sixth hour without resolution, the true magnitude of what Marcus's file deletion had cost our company became increasingly apparent to everyone involved. The sophisticated solutions that had distinguished TechFlow Solutions from competitors and enabled our success with challenging client projects were proving impossible to recreate quickly without access to the comprehensive documentation and implementation details that had been accumulated through months of intensive development work. The realization that our company's competitive advantages and client relationships were potentially facing permanent damage due to a single misguided management decision created an atmosphere of crisis that extended beyond technical problem-solving to fundamental questions about leadership decision-making processes and the organizational culture that had enabled such devastating errors in judgment to occur without adequate safeguards or review procedure. The moment I revealed to Jennifer and Marcus that I had maintained complete copies of all source code and documentation on my personal laptop arrived like a thunderbolt in the suffocating atmosphere of panic that had consumed our office for the past 7 hours. The silence that followed my announcement was profound and electric, as if the universe itself had paused to acknowledge the dramatic reversal of fortune that was about to unfold. Jennifer's face transformed from desperation to disbelief to cautious hope in the span of seconds, while Marcus experienced what I can only describe as the visible deflation of a man suddenly confronting the full magnitude of his catastrophic error in judgment. My personal laptop had been sitting in my car throughout the entire crisis, containing a comprehensive mirror of my work files that I maintained as part of my personal backup strategy. This redundancy system had developed organically over years of experiencing minor data losses and system glitches that taught me the value of maintaining multiple copies of critical materials in different locations and storage systems. The practice had become so routine that I hadn't even thought to mention it during the frantic morning discussions about recovery options, as my attention had been focused on the immediate technical challenges rather than the broader strategic implications of what resources might be available. The decision to maintain personal copies of all development work on my laptop reflected lessons learned during my early career experiences with system failures and organizational transitions that could create unexpected access restrictions to critical material. During my time at MedTech Solutions, I had witnessed colleagues lose months of work when corporate restructuring led to immediate revocation of system access without adequate transition periods for retrieving personal material. The healthcare consulting environment had taught me that backup strategies needed to account for both technical failures and administrative decisions that could unpredictably limit access to essential resources. The synchronization system I had developed for maintaining current copies of all project materials across multiple devices utilized automated scripts that ran nightly to ensure consistency between my office workstation, personal laptop, and external storage device. This approach provided redundancy that protected against various failure scenarios, while enabling me to work effectively from different locations when client requirements or personal circumstances made office-based development impractical. The comprehensive nature of my personal backup system extended beyond simple file copying to include detailed documentation of development environments, configuration settings, and deployment procedures that would enable complete system recreation from minimal starting point. My laptop contained not only the source code for all client platforms, but also the specialized tools, libraries, and frameworks that I had developed to support rapid development and maintenance of custom e-commerce solutions. The revelation that complete recovery was possible through my personal backup system created an immediate transformation in the office atmosphere, as the crushing weight of potential business failure was suddenly replaced by renewed hope and urgent determination to restore client systems as quickly as possible. Jennifer's relief was palpable as she began calculating the timeline for system restoration and preparing communications to reassure clients that their platforms would be operational again within hours rather than days or weeks. Marcus's reaction to learning about my comprehensive backup system was more complex, involving simultaneous relief about avoiding business catastrophe and growing recognition that his hasty deletion decision had nearly destroyed the company due to his fundamental misunderstanding of our development practices and backup requirements. The defensive posture he had maintained throughout the crisis began to crumble as the full implications of what might have happened became clear to everyone in the office. The process of retrieving my laptop from the parking garage and beginning the system restoration process required careful coordination to ensure that the recovered platforms would function correctly and include all recent updates and modifications that had been made since my last synchronization. The automated backup scripts I had developed included timestamp verification and integrity checking that would enable identification of any discrepancies between my backup copies and the corrupted production system. The technical challenges involved in restoring multiple client platforms simultaneously required systematic prioritization based on business impact and restoration complexity. Mountain Peak Outdoor Gear's platform was designated as the highest priority due to their imminent sales festival and the substantial revenue implications of continued downtime. Their system architecture was also the most complex, requiring careful attention to database restoration, integration configuration, and performance optimization to ensure that all functionality would operate correctly under peak traffic conditions. The restoration process began with establishing secure connections between my laptop and our hosting infrastructure, enabling direct upload of source code and configuration files while maintaining proper version control and deployment procedures. The automated deployment scripts I had developed during the original platform implementation would enable rapid installation and configuration of all system components, while minimizing the risk of errors that could compromise functionality or security. The database restoration process required particular attention because my backup system included not only structural schemas, but also sample datasets and testing procedures that would enable verification of all platform functionality before returning systems to production status. The custom algorithms and optimization techniques that had been lost in the server failure were preserved in my backup documentation along with detailed explanations of their implementation and the specific performance improvements they provide. Jennifer coordinated client communications throughout the restoration process, providing regular updates about our progress while managing expectations about timeline and potential data loss from transactions that had occurred between the backup timestamps and the system failure. Her communications emphasized our commitment to complete restoration while acknowledging the inconvenience and business impact that clients had experienced during the extended downtime. The first breakthrough came when Mountain Peak's basic e-commerce functionality was restored and verified to be operating correctly, enabling customers to browse products and place orders while we continued working on the more sophisticated features that provided their competitive advantage. The real-time inventory synchronization system required additional configuration and testing to ensure proper communication with their legacy systems, but the core platform was functional enough to begin handling customer transactions again. The systematic approach I had developed for platform restoration included comprehensive testing procedures that verified all functionality before declaring systems fully operational. These tests included transaction processing verification, integration functionality confirmation, security protocol validation, and performance benchmarking to ensure that restored systems met the same standards that had been achieved in the original implementation. As each client platform was successfully restored and verified, the atmosphere in our office shifted from crisis management to cautious celebration. The technical expertise and preparation that had enabled rapid recovery from what could have been a company-ending disaster created a sense of professional pride and team accomplishment that contrasted sharply with the panic and desperation that had dominated the morning hour. The documentation I provided to Jennifer and the rest of the team during the restoration process included detailed explanations of the backup strategies and redundancy systems that had enabled our rapid recovery. This information would be essential for developing improved disaster recovery procedures that could prevent similar crises in the future while maintaining the development flexibility and innovation capabilities that had established our competitive advantage. The conversations with clients as their systems were restored revealed the substantial business impact that extended downtime had created for organizations that depended on our platforms for critical operation. Mountain Peaks Management expressed both relief about the rapid recovery and concern about preventing similar disruptions during future peak business periods. Other clients raised questions about backup procedures and service-level agreements that would need to be addressed through formal policy development and infrastructure improvement. The analysis of what had caused the original server failure revealed a combination of hardware issues and maintenance procedure problems that could be prevented through improved monitoring and more conservative update protocol. The lessons learned from this crisis would inform infrastructure improvements and operational procedure changes that would reduce the likelihood of similar failures while maintaining the development agility that our clients value. Marcus's role throughout the restoration process was notably diminished as Jennifer and I coordinated the technical recovery efforts that required expertise he clearly lacked. His attempts to contribute to the restoration process were politely redirected to administrative tasks and client communication support that wouldn't risk compromising the delicate technical work required for complete system recovery. The successful restoration of all client platforms within 12 hours of the initial failure represented a remarkable recovery from what could have been a catastrophic business disaster. The comprehensive backup systems and technical expertise that had enabled this rapid recovery demonstrated the value of individual developer initiative and preparation that extended beyond standard corporate backup procedures and disaster recovery planning. The post-crisis analysis that followed revealed multiple systemic issues that had contributed to both the severity of the initial failure and the near-catastrophic consequences of Marcus's file deletion decision. The infrastructure improvements and policy changes that would be implemented based on these lessons would strengthen our operational resilience while preserving the innovative development culture that had enabled our success with challenging client projects. The client relationships that had been tested during the crisis were ultimately strengthened by our rapid recovery and transparent communication about the causes and prevention measures that would be implemented. The demonstration of technical expertise and commitment to client success that characterized our response to the crisis reinforced our reputation as a reliable partner for complex custom development projects. The financial impact of the crisis was substantial but manageable due to the rapid restoration timeline that minimized lost revenue and prevented permanent damage to client operations. The investments in improved infrastructure and backup systems that would be made based on this experience would provide long-term value that justified the short-term costs and disruption that had been experienced. Jennifer's leadership throughout the crisis had been exemplary, maintaining professional composure while coordinating complex technical recovery efforts and managing client relationships during a period of extreme stress and uncertainty. Her recognition of my contributions to the successful recovery would prove crucial for subsequent discussions about organizational structure and management responsibilities within TechFlow Solutions. The contrast between my proactive preparation and systematic approach to problem solving and Marcus's reactive management style and limited technical understanding had been starkly illustrated throughout the crisis. The value of deep technical expertise and comprehensive backup strategies had been demonstrated in ways that no amount of theoretical discussion could have conveyed as effectively. The momentum that built throughout the restoration process created opportunities for broader conversations about organizational priorities and management approaches that would serve TechFlow Solutions more effectively in the competitive custom development market. The technical leadership and crisis management capabilities I had demonstrated would position me for expanded responsibilities and recognition within the company structure. The documentation and analysis I prepared following the successful restoration provided comprehensive insights into both the technical causes of the crisis and the organizational factors that had contributed to its severity. This information would be essential for preventing similar incidents while maintaining the development, innovation, and client service excellence that had established our market position. The personal satisfaction I experienced from successfully resolving a crisis that could have destroyed our company was tempered by recognition that such emergencies shouldn't have been necessary and that better management decisions could have prevented the entire situation. The vindication of my technical approaches and backup strategies was gratifying but didn't eliminate the frustration of dealing with leadership that had nearly caused irreparable damage through poor judgment and limited understanding. The relationships with clients that had been strengthened through our crisis response would provide opportunities for expanded projects and deeper partnerships that could benefit both our company and their organization. The demonstration of technical expertise and crisis management capabilities would enhance our reputation within the industry and attract new clients who valued reliability and innovative problems. The lessons learned from this crisis would inform improved development practices and backup strategies that would benefit not only TechFlow Solutions but also the broader custom development community through knowledge sharing and best practice documentation. The experience had provided valuable insights into disaster recovery and business continuity planning that extended beyond technical considerations to include organizational structure and management decision-making processes. As the immediate crisis resolved and normal operations resumed, attention turned to the longer-term implications of what had occurred and the organizational changes that would be necessary to prevent similar incidents while preserving the innovative culture and technical excellence that had enabled our success. The path forward would require careful balance between improved risk management and continued development agility that served our clients' evolving needs effectively. The board meeting that Jennifer called for the following Monday morning would forever change the trajectory of my career at TechFlow Solutions. The weekend had provided time for reflection and analysis of the crisis that had nearly destroyed our company, and Jennifer's carefully worded email to all staff about discussing organizational improvements and leadership structure indicated that significant changes were imminent. The conference room felt different that morning, charged with an energy that suggested decisions made here would reshape how our company operated and who would be responsible for guiding our future growth. Marcus entered the meeting with visible tension, his usual confident demeanor replaced by an uncertainty that reflected his awareness that his judgment and decision-making would be under intense scrutiny. The documentation Jennifer had prepared for the meeting included detailed timeline analysis of the crisis, financial impact assessments, and client feedback about our response and recovery efforts. The evidence painted a clear picture of how close we had come to complete business failure and whose actions had contributed to both the crisis and its resolution. Jennifer's presentation began with acknowledgement of the successful recovery and the technical expertise that had enabled our rapid restoration of client systems. Her analysis highlighted the comprehensive backup strategies and preparation that had prevented permanent damage to our business relationships while noting the organizational factors that had created vulnerabilities requiring immediate attention. The contrast between proactive technical leadership and reactive management decisions was evident throughout her assessment. The client testimonials that Jennifer shared during the meeting provided external validation of the value that technical expertise and systematic preparation had created during our crisis response. Mountain Peak's CEO had specifically commended the depth of knowledge and comprehensive backup systems that had enabled restoration of their complex platform within hours rather than the weeks that other development companies might have required. Similar feedback from other affected clients emphasized their confidence in our technical capabilities while raising questions about management practices that had created unnecessary risk. The financial analysis revealed that while immediate revenue losses had been significant,
that the rapid recovery timeline had prevented the catastrophic business damage that extended downtime would have created. The investments required for improved infrastructure and backup systems were substantial but justified by the protection they would provide against future disruption. More importantly, the demonstration of technical excellence during crisis conditions had strengthened client relationships and generated new business opportunities that would provide long-term value exceeding the short-term cost.
Marcus's attempt to defend his file cleanup decision and minimize his role in creating the crisis was met with polite but firm contradiction from Jennifer, who had compiled comprehensive evidence of how his actions had directly contributed to the severity of what we had experienced. The documentation clearly showed that proper consultation and technical review would have prevented the deletion of critical backup materials while achieving the organizational objectives he had claimed to pursue through standardized file management procedures. The presentation I was invited to give about backup strategies and disaster recovery planning provided an opportunity to demonstrate the technical leadership and strategic thinking that had enabled our successful crisis resolution. My analysis included recommendations for improved infrastructure, enhanced backup procedures, and organizational changes that would strengthen our operational resilience while maintaining the development flexibility that our clients value. The comprehensive nature of my proposals reflected deep understanding of both technical requirements and business objectives that extended far beyond individual project management. The questions and discussion that followed my presentation revealed genuine appreciation for the expertise and preparation that had saved our company, while highlighting the need for organizational structure that would properly utilize and recognize such capabilities. Jennifer's questions about my willingness to assume expanded responsibilities and leadership roles indicated that significant changes in my position and authority were being considered as part of the post-crisis organizational improvement. The announcement that I would be promoted to Chief Technology Officer represented recognition that our company needed technical leadership with the expertise and judgment to prevent similar crises while guiding our strategic development direction. The position would include responsibility for all technical infrastructure, development standards, and disaster recovery planning, with authority to implement the comprehensive improvements that our recent experience had shown to be essential for sustainable operation. Marcus's reassignment to a client relations role reflected Jennifer's assessment that his skills were better suited to business development and account management than technical team leadership. The change was presented diplomatically but clearly indicated that the management approach he had attempted to implement was incompatible with our development culture and business requirements. His expression during this announcement suggested awareness that his career trajectory at TechFlow Solutions had been fundamentally altered by his misjudgment. The implementation timeline for organizational changes and infrastructure improvements was aggressive but achievable given the renewed client confidence and additional resources that our crisis response had generated. The systematic approach I had developed for these improvements would address not only immediate technical vulnerabilities, but also the broader operational challenges that rapid company growth had created without adequate attention to risk management and business continuity planning. The client communications that followed the organizational announcements emphasized our commitment to excellence and continuous improvement, while highlighting the technical leadership and expertise that would guide our future development effort. The positive responses from clients indicated that our crisis management and recovery had actually strengthened their confidence in our capabilities, while the new organizational structure provided additional assurance about our long-term stability and growth potential. The industry recognition that followed our successful crisis resolution and organizational improvements included speaking opportunities at conferences and publications that highlighted innovative approaches to disaster recovery and business continuity planning and custom development environments. The thought leadership position this created for both me personally and TechFlow Solutions as a company provided valuable marketing opportunities and competitive advantages in pursuing new client relationships. The technical improvements I implemented during my first months as CTO included comprehensive infrastructure upgrades, automated backup systems, and enhanced monitoring capabilities that would prevent similar failures while providing early warning of potential issues. The systematic approach to these improvements reflected lessons learned from our crisis, while incorporating industry best practices and innovative solutions that positioned us as leaders in operational excellence and reliability. The team development initiatives I introduced focused on building comprehensive technical capabilities throughout our development staff while maintaining the innovation and flexibility that had enabled our success with challenging custom projects. The mentoring programs and knowledge sharing systems I established would ensure that critical expertise was distributed across multiple team members rather than concentrated in individual contributors who might become single points of failure. The business growth that resulted from our enhanced reputation and demonstrated capabilities exceeded projections for both client retention and new account acquisition. The confidence that clients had developed in our technical expertise and crisis management abilities led to expanded project scopes and longer-term partnerships that provided stable revenue growth while creating opportunities for continued innovation and market leadership. The personal satisfaction I experienced from transforming a career-threatening crisis into recognition and advancement reflected not only individual achievement, but also validation of the systematic preparation and technical excellence that had characterized my approach to professional development. The vindication of my backup strategies and comprehensive documentation practices provided evidence that attention to detail and proactive planning created value that extended far beyond immediate project requirements. The relationship with Marcus evolved into professional cooperation despite the dramatic changes in our relative positions within the company hierarchy. His focus on client relations utilized his communication skills effectively while removing him from technical decision-making, where his limited understanding had created problems. The arrangement benefited both individual career development and overall company effectiveness by aligning responsibilities with actual capabilities and expertise. The industry connections I developed through speaking engagements and thought leadership activities provided valuable insights into emerging trends and technologies that would influence future client requirements and competitive position. The knowledge gained through these external relationships enabled strategic planning that positioned TechFlow Solutions advantageously for growth opportunities, while maintaining our reputation for technical innovation and reliability. The mentoring relationships I established with junior developers reflected my commitment to building organizational capabilities that would support continued growth while ensuring that essential knowledge and expertise were preserved and expanded throughout our team. The systematic approach to professional development that I implemented would create succession planning and knowledge retention that would prevent future vulnerabilities while enabling career advancement for talented team members. The client portfolio expansion that occurred under my technical leadership included increasingly complex and ambitious projects that showcased our enhanced capabilities while generating substantial revenue growth and market recognition. The confidence that clients developed in our technical expertise and project management abilities led to referrals and recommendations that accelerated business development while establishing our reputation as industry leaders in custom e-commerce development. The long-term strategic planning initiatives I led focused on positioning TechFlow Solutions for sustained growth and market leadership, while maintaining the innovative culture and technical excellence that had established our competitive. The comprehensive approach to business development, technical innovation, and operational excellence would ensure continued success while providing career advancement opportunities for team members who demonstrated commitment to professional growth and technical mastery. The transformation, individual contributor to organizational leader represented not only personal career advancement but also demonstration that technical expertise, combined with strategic thinking and comprehensive preparation, could create value that transcended traditional boundaries between development management responsibilities. The path from crisis to leadership had been unexpected but reflected capabilities and judgment that had been developed through years of systematic learning and professional excellence. Looking back on the events that had begun with Marcus's seemingly routine file cleanup decision, I could appreciate how a single moment of poor judgment had created opportunities for demonstrating capabilities and value that might never have been recognized under normal circumstances. The crisis had provided a platform for showcasing technical leadership and strategic thinking that led directly to career advancement and organizational responsibilities that aligned with my capabilities and professional aspirations. The lessons learned from this experience would influence my approach to leadership and organizational development throughout my career, emphasizing the importance of comprehensive preparation, systematic backup strategy, and technical excellence that could withstand unexpected challenges while creating foundations for sustained success and growth. The vindication of my professional approach had been complete and transformative, establishing principles and practices that would guide both individual achievement and organizational development for years to come. 6 months after the crisis that nearly destroyed TechFlow Solutions, I stood before an audience of 300 software development professionals at the Pacific Northwest Technology Conference, delivering a keynote presentation about disaster recovery strategies and the critical importance of comprehensive backup systems in custom development environments. The irony wasn't lost on me that what had begun as Marcus Williams's misguided attempt to clean up file organization had ultimately elevated me to industry thought leadership and established our company as a model for operational excellence and crisis management. The conference organizers had specifically requested my presentation after learning about our remarkable recovery from what should have been a company-ending disaster. The technical community was fascinated by how individual developer initiative and comprehensive backup strategies had enabled complete system restoration within hours, while larger companies with sophisticated IT departments often required weeks to recover from similar failure. My presentation included detailed technical explanations of backup methodologies, but the deeper message focused on the value of systematic preparation and the dangers of management decisions made without adequate technical understanding. The audience response was extraordinary, with standing ovations and multiple requests for follow-up consultations from companies seeking to implement similar backup strategies and disaster recovery procedures. The questions during the networking sessions revealed that our experience had resonated across the industry, where countless developers had encountered similar management challenges and recognized the vulnerabilities that inadequate backup procedures created for custom development projects. The business cards I collected that day represented opportunities that extended far beyond simple networking, including offers for consulting contracts, speaking engagements, and even venture capital discussions about expanding TechFlow Solutions into enterprise-level disaster recovery service. The transformation from individual developer to industry expert had opened doors that I could never have anticipated when I first joined Jennifer's small startup 18 months earlier. The media coverage that followed the conference presentation included articles in prominent technology publications that highlighted both our crisis recovery and the organizational changes that had resulted from the experience. The interviews I gave emphasized the importance of technical leadership in management decisions, while acknowledging that our success had ultimately strengthened client relationships and accelerated business growth beyond our most optimistic projections. TechFlow Solutions had evolved dramatically during the months following my promotion to Chief Technology Officer. The infrastructure improvements I had implemented included redundant backup systems, real-time monitoring capabilities, and automated disaster recovery procedures that could restore operations within minutes rather than hours. The investment in these systems had been substantial, but the client confidence and business opportunities they generated provided returns that exceeded our initial projections within the first quarter of implementation. The team expansion that accompanied our growing reputation included senior developers recruited from larger technology companies who were attracted by our innovative culture and the opportunity to work on challenging custom projects with cutting-edge technology. The hiring process I developed emphasized both technical expertise and cultural fit, ensuring that new team members would contribute to the collaborative environment that had enabled our success while bringing fresh perspectives and specialized skills that enhanced our overall capability. The client portfolio that developed under my technical leadership represented a dramatic upgrade in both project complexity and revenue potential. The companies that sought our services were specifically attracted by our demonstrated ability to handle sophisticated requirements while providing reliability and disaster recovery capabilities that exceeded industry standards. The custom solutions we developed for these premium clients established new benchmarks for e-commerce platform functionality while generating profit margins that supported continued investment in innovation and operational excellence. Marcus Williams had found his niche in client relations and business development,
where his communication skills and enterprise software background proved valuable for understanding client requirements and managing stakeholder relationships. The transition had been awkward initially, but his recognition that technical leadership required different capabilities than business management had ultimately benefited both his career development and company effectiveness. Our working relationship had evolved into mutual respect based on clearly defined roles that utilized individual strengths effectively. The industry recognition that continued throughout the year included awards for innovation in disaster recovery planning and invitations to serve on technical advisory boards for professional associations and technology companies. The thought leadership position this created provided valuable insights into emerging trends while establishing personal brand recognition that enhanced both individual career prospects and company reputation within the competitive custom development market. The mentoring program I established within TechFlow Solutions had produced remarkable results in developing junior developers into capable contributors who could handle complex projects independently while maintaining the quality standards and innovative approaches that characterized our work. The systematic knowledge transfer and documentation procedures I implemented ensured that critical expertise was distributed throughout the team rather than concentrated in individual contributors who might become single points of failure. The speaking circuit that developed from the conference presentation included engagements at universities, corporate training programs, and international technology conferences where audiences were eager to learn about practical disaster recovery strategies and the organizational factors that enabled rapid crisis resolution. The consulting opportunities that emerged from these presentations generated substantial additional revenue while providing insights into how other companies approached similar challenges. The book proposal I developed about disaster recovery and backup strategies in custom software development had attracted interest from multiple publishers who recognized the market demand for practical guidance about preventing and managing technology crises. The writing process would require substantial time investment, but the platform it would create for thought leadership and business development justified the effort while providing opportunities to influence industry best practices more broadly. The relationship with Jennifer Chen had evolved from employer-employee to strategic partnership as we collaborated on long-term planning for company growth and market positioning. Her business development expertise combined with my technical leadership had created a powerful combination that enabled TechFlow Solutions to compete successfully for large contracts while maintaining the innovation and agility that distinguished us from larger competitors. The financial success that accompanied our enhanced reputation and expanded capabilities had exceeded every projection we had developed during the post-crisis planning process. The revenue growth enabled not only infrastructure investments and team expansion, but also profit-sharing programs that rewarded team members for their contributions to company success while creating incentives for continued excellence and innovation. The personal satisfaction I experienced from transforming crisis into opportunity reflected not only individual achievement, but also validation of the systematic approach to professional development that had characterized my entire career. The combination of technical expertise, comprehensive preparation, and strategic thinking had created value that transcended traditional boundaries between technical and business responsibilities while establishing foundations for continued growth and success. The legacy of our crisis experience had become embedded in TechFlow Solutions culture through policies and procedures that prioritized technical excellence while maintaining operational resilience that could withstand unexpected challenges. The systematic approach to backup strategies, documentation standards, and knowledge management that I had implemented would protect future generations of employees and clients from experiencing similar vulnerabilities. The industry connections I had developed through speaking engagements, consulting work provided valuable intelligence about market trends and competitive developments that informed strategic planning while creating opportunities for partnerships and collaboration that enhanced our capabilities and market. The network of technical professionals who sought my advice and guidance had become a valuable resource for business development and problem solving across multiple industries and technology. The career trajectory that had emerged from crisis management and technical leadership leadership had exceeded every expectation I had maintained about professional advancement possibilities within startup environments. The combination of technical expertise, crisis management experience, and industry recognition had created opportunities that extended far beyond traditional software development roles, while maintaining focus on the innovative problem solving that had originally attracted me to custom development work. The future planning discussions that Jennifer and I conducted regularly included exploration of expansion opportunities that would leverage our enhanced reputation and demonstrated capabilities while maintaining the culture and values that had enabled our success. The possibilities included geographic expansion, service diversification, and strategic partnerships that would accelerate growth while preserving the innovation and technical excellence that distinguished us from competitors. The reflection on events that had begun with seemingly routine file cleanup revealed how individual decisions could create cascading consequences that ultimately transformed entire organizations and career trajectories. The preparation and expertise that had enabled crisis resolution demonstrated the value of systematic professional development and comprehensive backup strategies that extended far beyond immediate project requirements. The vindication of technical approaches and backup methodologies had been complete and transformative, establishing principles that would guide both individual career development and organizational growth for years to come. The experience had proven that excellence and preparation ultimately triumph over poor judgment and inadequate understanding, while creating opportunities for leadership and recognition that might never have emerged under normal circumstances. The gratitude I felt toward the circumstances that had tested and ultimately validated my professional approach was tempered by recognition that similar crises could devastate companies and careers that lacked adequate preparation and technical expertise. The responsibility that accompanied industry recognition included sharing knowledge and best practices that could help other professionals and organizations avoid similar vulnerabilities while building resilience and capabilities that would serve them throughout their career. Looking ahead to continued growth and new challenges, I understood that the foundation established through crisis management and recovery would support whatever opportunities emerged in the rapidly evolving technology landscape. The systematic approach to learning, preparation, and professional excellence that had enabled success would continue guiding decision-making and strategic planning as TechFlow Solutions pursued ambitious goals while maintaining the technical leadership and operational excellence that had become our defining characteristics. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up, just click and check them.